Well, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that actually we get when something feels good, our brain releases dopamine. Things that make us feel good, they're not necessarily fundamental for our survival, but we get tempted by dopamine all the time. Children become addicted or dependent on devices because oftentimes what happens is they become a substitute for human contact. Now, I often see sometimes I go out for a meal in a pub with a family, and what I often see is a child that is perhaps, let's call it playing up or being noisy or being disruptive, and a parent will then give that child their phone. You can look at my phone so that you be quiet. Okay, so what we are doing is we are substituting human contact and young children with access to technology.
If I am just run ragged, I'll be honest, I do the worst thing possible and keep her on it, you know, because it gives me time to either conserve my energy, do what's more important, and also, you know, I kind of know I'm doing a bad thing, but I do it because it just makes my life a little bit easier.
I like TikTok because if I'm bored or I'm not doing anything, I like to scroll through and watch some videos that make me laugh and stuff like that.
Do I feel pressure to keep her on the device by the kind of zeitgeist of society kind of thing? So yeah, you know, totally.
Well, technology is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. The average human spends in this country spends 4.5 hours on their electronic devices. Second to sleeping is probably the longest we spend on something in our daily lives.
Apps have definitely changed the way we interact with one another. Whether you like it or not, and it's not going to stop. The phones are going to get more powerful. There's new technology that's going to allow for new products to exist. There's going to be new businesses that can launch.
This generation has its own challenges, which is living in a very adapting world where technology just grows so fast, where technology actually driven by profit, not controlled by well-being, but it's actually the whole point of technology is to make money for someone.
When you see like a well-branded big conglomerate company, you assume that everything they put out into the world is perfect, and it's actually not true. You need to make an informed decision yourself. Yeah, even without you being a child or, you know, your parent telling you or some authority telling you this is right or wrong, like do your own due diligence on the things you're consuming.
I always sometimes see, you know, 2-year-olds and they've got the phone and they know what the YouTube app looks like. I think it's a bit sad really, actually. There is a danger of, I think it affects the language, the speech and language, and I think year on year that social skills, communication and language skills they come in lower and lower. Watching tablets, phones, TV, instead of having interactions and, you know, talking to the people around them.
When I can't access my apps, I feel very left out because people at school will be saying, oh my gosh, this movie or this TV film is so nice, and then I just can't watch it, and then they will just be talking about it and I'm just there.
You know, sometimes I'd feel bored.
You have to get bored to get creative, and if they're not allowed to get bored, they don't develop that magical world with the castle and the dragon and the, you know, and then they don't become adults who write screenplays or books.
I think when the technology becomes a substitute for human contact, it becomes a substitute for parenting, it becomes a substitute for making contact and engaging with one another, then it becomes a problem. Technology exists, it's present, it's always there. The idea is that we can't just deny its existence, but we have to learn is to have a relationship with it that is actually healthy. I am also hopeful. I think that children nowadays are more emotionally literate than I have ever seen. And I see 15, 16-year-old kids using the language of talking about emotions, about being kind, about being compassionate, about being empathic. I think children nowadays are more in touch with their emotions than my generation perhaps was. However, this generation has its own challenges, which is living in a very adapting world where technology just grows so fast. I work as a therapist, and I have found on numerous occasions people coming to me and saying that they have a very difficult relationship with devices, with social media. And I often found myself saying this thing to people, actually, so why don't you cut it down? Why don't you give yourself a break from social media? And people looked at me like somehow if I was mad. So what I did is, for 1 month, I swapped my iPhone for a Nokia 3310. I logged out of all social media, all news media, all streaming devices, and I stuck to just using technology for work purposes. And I have to admit that the first few days were really odd and strange. I kept on thinking that my phone was vibrating in my pocket. But then what I found is, after 1 or 2 days of this, was that I actually felt better, I slept better, my days were longer, I connected more with people, I exercised more, I had more time in my hands. I missed some things. I certainly missed not being able to listen to music on my phone. I missed not having a sat-nav, but I did not miss the constant anxiety of the news, so there was actually a real revelation. And what it did is it changed my relationship with technology. It made me aware that I don't need it. I can function without it. I can put it down anytime I want and just be with what is around me, rather than staring at my screen. Because when I'm staring at my screen, I'm not looking at the beauty of the world, I'm not looking at nature, I'm not looking at the sky, I'm not looking at people's faces, and I'm not looking at all of that. So that was a real revelation. I invite people to give that a try. Even if it's for 1 day a week, have a tech-free day. Just 1 day a week, put all your devices away and just sit with your family and just talk and just be. I recommend it. You'd be surprised what you find.